Hi class, this is Rich with Dowiak, and this is my presentation of the older adult oral video. I chose my dad because I thought it would be interesting to know about the years from my father's life, from those years of my father's life that I maybe didn't know too much about. He's pretty interesting. He's like a funny guy, so I thought it would be good to do a report on him. The developmental stage of Erickson's theory that I chose for my week 6 project was stage 6. Intimacy versus isolation, the young adult perspective. This stage focuses on young adults and their need for intimacy and connection, and to be able to maintain their identities while they live out this dynamic of give and take in a relationship. During this time, my father experienced many different things. First, he moved to America from Poland around age 23 to live with his uncle here in the States. Then his father passed away in an accident he had back in Poland. My dad was not able to make it back for the funeral, though, which was troubling for him. My dad then later met my mom around that time and got married. He then got his social security number and green card a while later. These were pretty much the highlights during that time. When my father's father passed away, he was in shock because it was kind of like all of the sudden, and it was like a tragic accident. Then as I was saying before, my dad met my mom. They got married a while later. However, before that, between ages 17 to 21, the beginning of the younger adult phase or stage, my father was in Poland where he worked and went to school to be a machinist. He said he liked those times or those days. He had a lot of friends. He went out a lot, and he just had a good, active social life and enjoyed his time. When talking to him, he stated that he didn't have any long-term romantic relationships at the time, between 17 and 21. As I said before, my dad said he felt shocked and went through a grieving phase when his dad died. He got married. He had 2 children and learned to speak English for the first time. Learning English was tough for him at first. He was able to find and work many jobs as a machinist when he came to the U.S. Adjusting to the new country was a bit tough for him, and he said learning the language and everything else that entailed. So just pretty much coming to a new country and learning the culture and everything like that. Yeah, excuse my voice. I'm still sick. Thanks. He also had to adjust to family life or being married, and then with the two children, having to provide for them and things like that. And the first child he had was me, um, and my brother. Learning English was kind of hard for him because he had to go to school for about 2 to 3 years, about 3 times a week, days, night classes, and to the day his English is still okay. It's not perfect. He can understand quite a bit and speak, but but if he has to like write a lot or understand certain words, he might have trouble with that. And he stated when he was in the classes to learn English, the classes were pretty diverse with different uh, ethnic groups and just a diverse population in general. The psychosocial crisis that occurred in this phase was coming to a new country and having to learn a language and dealing with the grief of his father's passing away. In addition, feeling lonely in a new country, my father stated he felt better when he met my mom and got married, which aligns with Erikson's theory of intimacy versus isolation. However, he did have some issues with his father-in-law, my mom's dad, who could be a little bit overbearing and judgmental. So that was a bit of an issue as far as the relationship. Simon and Barrett, the study in my bibliography, stated that males usually function a lot better where there is less stress and strain in an ongoing relationship. So this definitely strained his relationship with his father, with the father-in-law. I mean, this strained relationship with my mom because of the father-in-law's overbearingness and things like that. Also, back then, when he got married, like people got married at a young age, so that was normal for that time, like in the early 20s, having a family, settling down, and things like that. And my father also said he felt a lot more supported when he met my mom, and was and her family was here, so it was easier for him to kind of become integrated into everything. And and Lentang and Furman in the study in my bibliography also talk about that males tend to reap more benefits from the support of a female, but at the same time, they still can support each other and have an effective relationship, which my father stated he had. The biosocial factors that assisted my father at this time was that he was living with his uncle's family when he first moved to the US, so that was a good support. He also lived in an area in New Jersey where there was a lot of Polish people, so it was easier for him to make friends, socialize, and get around because places like bakeries, banks, etc., had employees who spoke Polish. Furthermore, by marrying my mom, he had additional supports as her family were in the U.S. as well. So even though my father didn't fully integrate in America culture at first, he would be considered and be put in a separate category of Uzbek study in my bibliography, where he states that even though people are separated or not a part of the new culture, they still can function well. And by my father having just a lot of people who are from Poland, immigrants, and people who are already settled here with their businesses, etc., the transition made things a lot easier for my dad, and things like that. Most people in the area were pretty much Caucasian. There was some Hispanic as well. There was no gender issue with my father. My father was also Catholic and Christian, and a lot of the people in the area were that as well. And a lot of Polish people are Christian and Catholic. And he would go to church almost pretty much every Sunday with my mom and her family. And as far as age, my father didn't experience anything related to age that might have been an issue or a problem. Everything was pretty good regarding age. Regarding social class, most of the people there were middle class who lived in the area. High school, maybe some college, technical school type background. The fact that my father already went to school as a machinist prior to coming to the U.S. helped him find jobs easier in the U.S. Moreover, the residence area where my father lived had a lot of immigrants and people from Poland, which made the transition easier, like I mentioned. And even some of the churches were Polish, and so it was a lot easier to socialize. And they also had a picnic every year where everyone came together. So culturally, my father felt pretty comfortable and accepted. As I mentioned before, the Polish community was a great benefit to my dad. There was no social policy or forces really affecting him. He also didn't experience much oppression or discrimination, according to him. And and he wasn't much of an oppressor either. He was very free-spirited, kind, easygoing. So I didn't experience, at least from a personal end, and then from just what I saw, not much oppression. However, at the same time, my dad did have occasional issues, like I mentioned before, my mother's father, who could be difficult, as he always thought he knew best. The other theory I'll discuss relating to my father is social learning theory, which people can learn from observing others. I felt this theory was beneficial for my dad because he learned by watching how people acted in this new country, so he can more easily learn the new culture and how to act in an effective manner. With the social learning theory, the limitations are that you can only learn so much by watching others, and you need to apply things and see how they would work for you as well. However, it can be a good starting point. Social learning also doesn't account for inherent or biological obstacles such as anxiety or some kind of disability that prevents one from reaching certain goals or knowledge. And that concludes my presentation. This is the reference page. Thank you very much, and have a